listening to CinemaJaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location from CinemaJaw Studios in Chicago. My name is Matt K. With me is
Rye, the movie guy, and right to my left is KP.
Hello.
This week on CinemaJaw, Matt, we got 3 big reviews, which means it's a
Review-O-Rama.
What do we got this week?
We got Memoirs of a Snail, Blitz, and A Real Pain. And I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about a movie.
Yes, with Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah,
Kieran
not his
Culkin.
directorial debut.
No, sophomore effort.
Sophomore effort.
We will get there. But I like the picks here because they're all over the board. 3 very different movies.
Yeah, well, I have not seen Blitz, but just the Memoirs of a Snail and A Real Pain are quite different films, although they both have a lot of emotion.
For sure.
You can draw a through line, maybe.
Yeah, we could. It's going to be fun talking about these films.
Yeah.
It's also still November, which means we're celebrating Dwayne Johnson still.
You are absolutely right.
No
Hell
doubt
yeah.
about it. We're right on that, The Rock. And in honor of A Real Pain, directed and starring Jesse Eisenberg, Stump the Kubinski this week, Eisenberg movie trivia.
Heisenberg?
Eisenberg.
Oh, I thought we were going to do Breaking Bad trivia.
Wouldn't that be great?
That would be a lot better than Eisenberg.
It's going to be
I
tricky.
don't know if you would do better, though.
I've seen Breaking Bad.
But it's a joke.
Okay. I don't know if I feel confident here, Ryan.
I do have one question where you can get multiple points for how many people you can name in a movie. So
This is new.
So
Yes.
it's going to be the cast of Now You See Me.
So-
I'm calling it right now.
So
I feel like that's pretty doable, though.
yes.
Yeah,
There's
very
2
doable.
of them.
But
no, there's way more than 2.
But
Now
you,
You
Oh,
See
2
Me's?
movies, yes.
you do have a chance for more than 5 points is what I'm saying, to give you
Got
a,
it.
a fair shot at Eisenberg trivia.
Okay. Was Aubrey Plaza in that?
Well, we can't talk about this now.
Right.
Why not? I'm just going to like...
Unbelievable,
Bank it.
this
Come
guy. All right, let's kick it off with a Dwayne Johnson fact.
Yes, we all know The Rock as an actor and as a wrestler, but you know what we don't talk about Dwayne as? A football player. We kind of did last week, mentioning the end of his football career. I did not know how deep down the football rabbit hole Dwayne The Rock Johnson went. He played at the University of Miami as a defensive lineman. The team was AP National in 1991. Some of his teammates included Warren Sapp, Ray Lewis. I don't really know what those names mean, but
Me
when
neither.
I looked them up, it looks like it means something.
I know them both, sure.
He went undrafted by the NFL and then went on to sign a contract with Calgary in the CFL, the Canadian Football League.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Sure is.
Do you watch this, Ryan?
No, I don't watch Canadian Football League,
Okay.
but I'm well aware of it.
Do they play
Which-
American football?
I was going to say,
It's very, very similar, but there are different rules.
okay, but it's not soccer. They're not like
No,
Europeans
no,
where football
yeah.
means
Oh.
soccer.
No, this is American football.
Do Europeans hate them for that too? Because football is one thing, and then like American football is another thing, and apparently Canadian football. Why sports fans make no sense.
Wait, Canadian football is just hockey, right?
No, that would be hilarious. Foosball.
That's what it is. It's hockey.
Another name that I don't know, but apparently when I looked this up means something. Dougie Flutie.
Ooh,
was-
Doug
Oh,
Flutie.
see, now that name I've heard of.
yeah,
Yeah.
played for the Bears.
I have no. Sorry, Chicago.
Flutie.
Sorry. Don't
Yeah.
kick me out.
That's the only reason why I remember, because it's funny.
It is pretty funny. And he, poor guy, he was cut from his first season, and he just played football very briefly. But we like him more.
I think he parlayed. I mean, he obviously went on to do better things and maybe even being an NFL star.
I think wrestling is way cooler than football right out of the jump street. Controversial take.
Agree.
I know.
Agree.
Right. Like one is theatrical and awesome. The other takes a lot of pauses and bores me. And I think like, could you imagine
The Rock
watching,
did just fine.
Could you imagine watching like, I don't know if this is a real team, but like the Montreal Flautists, and everyone's like, oh, can you
that's a
smell
real-
what Johnson's cooking? Who cares? And that.
Well, if he was on the Flautist, I think we would know what he was cooking.
I only came up with that because of Doug Flutie.
There you go.
Very interesting, though.
This is why we love KP.
Yeah.
The wordplay.
We got Doug Flutie in there. I mean, I know this many football players have not been mentioned on CinemaJaw ever. So
Oh, yeah, this is a
Probably
record.
the last time.
Good times. All right, we ready to kick off this review-o-rama?
I'm waiting.
Let me tell you, Jesse Eisenberg has started to dip his toe into directing. In 2022, he made his debut with the small indie film When You Finish Saving the World. Odd tidbit here, I've read the book When You Finish Saving the World, but I have not seen the movie that he directed. Got to catch up with that one. For his sophomore effort, he has teamed up with Kieran Culkin for the intimate film A Real Pain. Matt and I journeyed to the theater to see if it's worth checking out.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
Boner.
Is not available.
Hey, Benji, I just got to the airport. I really hope you left already. Oh, God, you made it.
What's up, cuz? I got some good shit from when we land.
Wait, you're not, like, taking weed into Poland, are you?
Oh, yeah.
Benji?
They don't give a shit about that stuff, man.
I think they very much do give a shit about that.
Yeah.
We get high in backseats.
A Real Pain stars Jesse Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin as cousins who are taking a tour through Poland to honor their beloved grandmother who passed away. We come to find out that she actually left money to them so they can make this trip together. Through stories they share, we learn the two were very close growing up, but like many cousins and family members do, they grew apart as time has gone by. David, played by Eisenberg, is married and has a young son. He is filled with an anxiety and does not fit in with groups very well. Kind of perfect for Eisenberg, let's be honest. Benji, meanwhile, played by Culkin, is struggling with his mental health since his grandmother passed away. Matt even thought he was homeless. I did not get that impression for sure. More on that in a minute. He is, however, very vocal and loves, even yearns for connection with others, even if he has just met them. The main point is they are very different people. So what we have is the classic setup for a comedic road trip. But Eisenberg has more on his mind than having a few simple laughs. There are some of those, but A Real Pain walks more on the serious side of the road as the cousins tour through Poland. This is very evident when they go to a concentration camp and are overwhelmed with emotion. Their journey to sites in Poland shows us how many suffered during the war. It also unveils how each are suffering in their own lives. Benji clearly needs some emotional support from his cousin. The acting is good, but I did feel like I could see the acting more so than I was watching authentic characters. I like A Real Pain, but I didn't quite love it. Matt, where'd you fit in?
Yeah, I think when we walked out of the theater, as often happens, there's one of the studio.
Like a publicist.
Yeah, the publicist who says, what'd you guys think? And we both said solid. So this is a solid movie. I have the same issues you did. I did not think that the performances were good, especially Jesse Eisenberg. Maybe he was spread too thin with being on both sides of the camera. This is not one of his better performances. Is it bad? No, it's not bad. It's just not great. And I honestly didn't even really connect with Kieran Culkin. I didn't love his character. He's walking a tightrope between being totally manic and super charming, right? Which they make a point of really explaining in the movie, like he's a guy you want to be, but also can't freaking stand. And okay, they did a good job showing that, but I found that to be too opposite. Like it didn't gel.
Yeah.
I didn't believe him as a character.
Let's put it this way. I've seen that exactly what they were going for portrayed better in other movies where maybe the guy is way too cool on screen and it's like a quieter moment where we realize he doesn't have his shit together. In this one, it was happening like in real time.
Very public.
Yeah, and very public. And so it was very tough to actually get a read on him. Like, yeah, you want to be the guy like Eisenberg says about him. Like, oh, he comes into the room and he has this charisma about him. But at the same time, he's kind of a loony. So I wouldn't go so far as to say that about somebody who's charismatic and 5 minutes later is, screaming at somebody because, they talk too much or something.
Bipolar is, I believe, what he's going through. And that's my armchair diagnosis, so take that with a big grain of salt. I like how the title has so many meanings, because obviously the character Benji that we're talking about, Kieran Culkin's character, is in a real pain. He has a real pain in his life. He's also a real pain in the ass. And then it's also about, well, at least it has the backdrop of the history of the Holocaust in there, which is obviously a lot of pain and suffering. One of the characters they go on this tour with is a survivor of the Rwandan genocide, and all the pain that he brings. So I don't want to give you the wrong impression. This is a comedy.
Right.
I actually was laughing out loud a couple of times. It's humorous.
It is.
This is a solid humorous movie. Are you going to pee your pants? No. But it was good.
Right. So the group that they're on is a very small, tight-knit group.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you brought this up. I know where you're going.
And I was looking up, doing research today.
Who are these actors?
Who are these actors? And I literally watched this entire movie and did not realize that the single lady who is on the tour with them is played by Jennifer Grey.
Right. She's like a 50-something, attractive, older woman.
Yes. Did you didn't know it was Jennifer Grey either, right?
This is one of the worst things, worst career moves anyone has ever made was Jennifer Grey fixing her nose. And I say fixing in air quotes because I think it was fine before and it was her distinguishing characteristic. Like, you watch Dirty Dancing, yeah, she's got a bump on her nose, and that's kind of what makes her cute. And then she went and got rhinoplasty, and nobody fucking recognizes her anymore. I mean, she took away what made her unique.
Sure.
I think it ruined her career.
Yeah,
I'm going to go out on that branch.
Go ahead and spread the word, man. Jennifer Grey ruined her career by fixing her nose.
I don't even think that's a controversial point of view. I don't.
So I was floored that was Jennifer Grey. I was like, oh my God, I usually don't have those kind of misses where it's like a main actor. And not that she's on the screen a ton, but enough where I should have noticed that was Jennifer Grey.
Right.
And that both of us didn't realize it is kind of shocking. So that was one odd thing that I wanted to point out. Back to this homeless question.
Yeah.
Jawheads, you got to love this. The movie ends, and then there's that moment of silence, and me and Matt are sitting next to each other, and you never know exactly what the person's going to say to you. And Matt just turns to me.
Especially if it's me.
Matt turns to me, and his opening remarks after the movie are, do you have any friends that are homeless? Like, how do I take that? What are you talking about? Do I have any friends that are homeless?
I do.
I know. So then this conversation starts that Matt has friends that are homeless. And I'm like, oh, okay, it all makes sense now. It's all clicking in my head. And I'm like, oh, maybe Matt's homeless. When was the last time I've been over by the Kubinskis? I'm joking.
You just come over sometime. I am not homeless, but I do have friends. Yeah.
But
a friend.
You had said that. And I, at the time, was like, maybe that's right. But I was thinking about it more. I did a little deep dive through, the Wikipedia page.
Oh, you did?
And looking, I'm talking on A Real Pain to see if there was any mention of him being homeless. And I don't think that's a plot point at all. Yes, he's struggling mentally. And I know he hangs out at the airport.
Right.
We see it in the beginning.
He's got a huge backpack.
Yes. And we see it at the end where he says he's,
I'm just going to stay here. I'm not going
Eisenberg
home.
Asks, like, hey, do you want to ride home? And he says, no, I'm just going to stay here. My read on that, though, is he just doesn't want to be alone.
Could be.
And he just wants to be, yes, it sounds odd, but he wants to be around strangers at the airport. That makes him feel more comfortable than going home and, like, sulking in his own pain.
That could be.
That was my read on it.
I don't even think it's a major, like, head-scratching thing that you're supposed to think about.
No, I didn't either. But I thought it was very strange when the movie ended that's right where you went, asking me if I have
It seemed like it
friends
because
that are homeless.
Why else would he want to stay at the airport when he was offered a ride home?
Like Ryan said.
Maybe, yeah. That makes sense.
So there are other issues that I have with it. These are more on the nitpick side, but I did want to mention them.
Okay.
One is the score, and we talked about this walking out. Yeah, it's a piano score.
What is that piece? Can we throw it in the fish tank?
Throw it in the fish tank. It's a public domain type song.
Yeah.
That we
Little
all
Einsteins.
Heard. And to me, it was just too repetitive. They used it too much in the movie.
Baby Einstein. Yeah, sorry.
And I was just like, enough with the piano already.
Well,
like, move on to something else.
Yeah.
I couldn't take it anymore. It just kept playing and playing.
I don't know if it's a budgetary thing, perhaps. Also, there are scenes, and I wanted to get to this, so this is a perfect segue, where they walk through the concentration camp that's closest to to Warsaw. It's not Auschwitz. I forget the name of it. And it's largely just score appropriately. Mm-hmm. And I think that in that moment, the score worked. But for the rest of the movie, I'm like, and you're right. They just dipped their pen into that well way too many times. Mm-hmm. I'm not a huge fan of that piece. Honestly, it puts me to sleep because it reminds me of, like, when my first kid was like an infant and we would put on Baby Einstein and that was the thing that would play and I would like be asleep on the couch at 5 o'clock in the morning when the baby woke up, you know? So
another
it's
nitpick
like a
I have
Pavlovian response.
Another nitpick is the continuity editing is what I'm calling it.
I noticed that too.
And I noticed
The whiskey.
Yeah, okay, you got the whiskey, but this happened numerous times.
Did it?
Actually, right when they you know what? One of the times is when they sat down at like the first stop in Poland where they stopped to have lunch, and Eisenberg went to the table by himself and wasn't sure if his cousin was going to join the tour group people at one table or come and sit with them, and he ended up coming to sit with them, and they were having lunch. I know I sometimes notice it maybe more because we watch so many movies. I'm very
You're a
cognizant of
trained
it.
eye.
Yeah, but man, this one was a wreck. It's like you're watching him and he's about to eat in one scene, and the edits are going back, and then he doesn't have any utensils in his hand. To me, it was absolutely distracting, and like he's about to drink something, and then a shot back and a reaction. There's no glass
Who's the
on the
second
table.
AD on this thing? Come on.
You got to have the continuity, and on top of that, like when they were walking, those simple shots where they were touring Poland, sort of like walking as a group, and they're talking amongst themselves, they would like reverse the shot, and the people would be out of the order in the two shots. And I don't normally nitpick. You can see this happen a little bit. This happened enough where it was like, man, they needed a little bit more continuity editor going on, realizing not to make those mistakes.
So you've never been to Poland?
I have not. No,
We're both a couple of Polish guys.
Yeah.
I actually have even Polish Jew on my dad's side. Was this interesting to see your homeland?
I do always plan at some point to eventually get over to Poland. I got over to Czech Republic. I went to Prague. Pretty close.
Oh, that's a party
got
city.
over there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And that was fascinating enough. We're reading a lot of the history when we
Eastern
get into
Europe.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And definitely at some point, I would love to get over to Poland.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list.
All right. That would never happen moment that I have.
You
for
have
you.
one?
I do have one.
I
And
couldn't find one, aside from the terrible editing.
This is going back to this
Because
idea.
your whiskey would never disappear. That would never happen.
Going back to this idea at the very beginning, when we meet Kieran Culkin, he's at the airport waiting for Jesse Eisenberg, who is calling his cousin nonstop because he's neurotic, he's very anxious,
Leaving all these messages.
and he's just like, sorry, I keep calling you, because he's called so many times, right?
Oh, that's another thing. I don't think he had a phone.
True. That's why you were calling on the homeless. I think, again, he was just like wanted to be disconnected with all of that stuff. That's just my read on it.
Okay.
But anyways, that would never happen moment is Kieran Culkin's already in the airport waiting for his cousin. And for some reason, he didn't go through security. He's actually on the outside waiting at the airport. That would never happen.
That would never happen.
I just went on a trip to Washington, D.C., and me and my buddy Ken were meeting at the airport. I didn't wait outside of security for him.
No,
I went right through security, and then you got bars and people there too. So even if you wanted to hang out among
Actually,
the people,
the better bars are
through.
Yeah.
So I don't even think there's bars on the outside, and not here in Chicago. At Midway, definitely there is not.
Yeah, I can't refute that.
So why would he be sitting on the outside? That would just never happen.
That would
is
never
my
happen.
point.
I don't
You
even
would
think
go
they have
through
much seating out.
I know they don't. You would go through security, and then you would all meet afterwards.
Was
I
that
don't know.
LaGuardia?
I would imagine it would coming out of New York. So
Yeah. Okay. Just curious. I was just there.
how about a jaw-dropping moment?
So the camp scene, right? I mean, it's a jaw-dropping moment for a lot of reasons. Difficult to pull off in a comedy, you know, where you tour. They're on this tour with a tour guide, the full nine. And I was wondering how they were going to handle this. And they even say, like, right before they go in, this is a sacred space. I'm not going to talk. And true to word, there's a couple of, like, you know, this is the bathhouse. This is that. So, yeah, that was something.
Yeah, and I do think they handled it pretty well because you're
Pretty
right.
well.
It's a comedy, and then all of a sudden it needs to be very serious and sensitive at that moment. And I thought they did that.
I thought
well.
so too.
Yeah, I went with the dinner scene where after one of the days of the tour, the whole group gets together and has dinner, and Kieran Culkin's character Benji goes off, has an outburst, and leaves the table. The jaw-dropping moment then is when Eisenberg addresses the group, because at that point Eisenberg's character hasn't really expressed much pain of his own because he very much holds it in internally.
Here's a question. Do you even remember Eisenberg's character's name?
Well, I have it written down.
Without looking at your notes.
I think it's David.
Yeah, it is.
It is, okay.
But honest to God, dude, I totally forgot the character's name. He's that milquetoast.
Yeah, there's that milquetoast again. All right, so my jaw-dropping moment is him addressing the table. And at first, he's actually trying to explain why his cousin is acting out like this. And what really turns out is he starts explaining his own pain. I thought that was the best acting of the entire movie. It was at least we had a little bit of a gem of a scene there for me.
I'll give it to you.
So,
yeah.
Poster,
I'm going with painfully funny.
not bad. I went a short, simple, and effective film.
Yeah. This is there's no problem with this movie. I say I recommend it. How many Jaws you giving this?
3 Jaws for Ride the Movie Guy.
It's
How about you?
Exactly where I landed. 3 Jaws.
Nice.
It's solid. We both said this when we walked out.
Yes.
Solid.
This opens up on the 15th everywhere. It's getting a pretty wide release. Check out A Real Pain. Once you do, let us know what you think. Shoot us an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com. Now, something different that we're going to try to pull off here is a recommendation off of that movie for the Jawheads.
Well, we're pairing the films with it's like a wine with a cheese.
Right. Sometimes you see a movie and we're allowing each other, Matt can pair it with anything that he sees out of that movie that reminds him of something that you want to make a recommendation to the Jawheads.
Yeah.
And I did the same.
Good.
You want to go first?
I'll go first. Yeah. So I'm pairing this with Noah Baumbach's The Meyerowitz Stories, New and Selected. This was a 2017 comedy drama, so it's in the same vein tonally. It's also about a Jewish family, so there's that through line as well. This was a movie that Adam Sandler got that rare acting nod for, but it also has Dustin Hoffman, and it was a great story about a sort of dysfunctional upper middle class Jewish family, just going through the shit that we all go through, and these siblings and their dealings. So it has that family dynamic. I think it's a good pairing with A Real Pain for those reasons.
I like Baumbach, and who you didn't mention in the cast and who plays his brother is Ben Stiller.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Right.
And the scene that I remember distinctly out of the Meyerowitz's story is they actually go to visit a college campus. I think because Dustin Hoffman's dad, he's like a sculptor.
He's the dad.
Yeah, as the dad. He was supposed to, I think, give like a speech or a lecture maybe or something along that nature at the college campus. And instead the sons go in his place and they actually have a fight out on the lawn.
Fist fight.
Yeah, but it's like exactly how two people would fight who don't know how to fight. And they're sort of like slapping each other and they are wrestling on the ground. Like they're not really hurting each other. It's quite hilarious. And this is Ben Stiller versus Adam Sandler.
Yeah,
it's
Adam Sandler
ridiculous.
has a few funny outbursts in this movie.
Yeah, he does.
He's great. It's a really good one it's a feather in his cap.
I've seen most Baumbach movies multiple times. This is one of them that I've only seen the one time that we reviewed it here on the Jaw.
Same. I got to rewatch it.
Nice. Good pick.
I mean, this is perfect for this movie. What about you? What'd you pair it with?
So I watched this and I had a couple different ideas, and I thought at one point I was leaning towards, but I talk about it too much, the Darjeeling Limited, because they go on a tour.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, and they're in another country, and it's that's what I was thinking. And then
that's Wes Anderson.
Yeah, that's Wes Anderson. I thought, well, okay, everybody knows this one. And then I thought, man, this Kieran Culkin, I like this guy a lot. Obviously, a lot of people who watch Succession love him. He's won Emmys now, and he's much bigger than Macaulay Culkin at this stage in their careers.
Bite your tongue.
Well, way back in 2002. Kieran Culkin was in a movie called Igby Goes Down. Okay.
Yeah, I saw this on your notes.
Yeah, and Igby Goes Down has an absolutely stacked cast. Let me read this off here. It obviously has Kieran Culkin, that's why I'm picking it, but it also has Claire Danes, Jeff Goldblum, Susan Sarandon, Amanda Peet, Ryan Felipe, Bill Pullman, and Jared Harris. Jared Harris, a lot of people may not know. He's wonderful, and I did not know who he was when I saw Igby Goes Down back in 2002.
Yeah, this is a 22-year-old movie.
Yeah, but now watching it, he plays this like hippie artist, and it's just such a funny role for Jared Harris, who normally is in such serious roles. So that was great to see that's who he was playing back then. Igby is Kieran Culkin, and he is a rebellious teenager who attempts to break free from his family, and in particular, his wealthy mom, who's played by Susan Sarandon.
They're like upper class.
Very upper class. And he just wants to get away. He's troubled. He's been in like a military school. And so finally he gets sent off to go to live with his godfather by the name of D.H., and that is Jeff Goldblum. Everybody should have a godfather that's Jeff Goldblum. It's hysterical.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And this is in Manhattan. And he basically gets to the what I would call the bohemian underworld of Manhattan. So it's all these artists and so on and so forth. And Jeff Goldblum's character is actually having an affair with Amanda Peet, who is absolutely ravishing in this time. This is like Amanda Peet peak. I don't know where she's at now.
Peak Pete, huh?
Yes. And of course, Igby is in love with her, and there's a sexual attraction there.
Right.
But he also,
Sparks fly.
Yeah, he's also trying to hook up with Claire Danes. I had to double check. Claire Danes is 3 years older than him, but in the movie, she comes off much older. It's a great one. It's funny. It's touching. And Ryan Felipe is that total jackass older brother that he would play so perfectly, where he's got that clenched mouth as he talks like this, Igby, you know? Mm-hmm. Real preppy guy.
I remember hearing about this movie. I remember seeing the trailer, and I never saw it. Never watched Igby Goes Down.
Oh, it's so good.
It's a weird, like, where do you slot this? You know?
I know.
But right next to A Real Pain.
Yes. Well, you got the Kieran Culkin. Can we see if it's streaming anywhere?
We'll throw it in the fish tank.
I love it.
All right.
My mom sent me away.
She did it to keep you safe.
Your son did not arrive at his destination. You're responsible for his safety. Why can't you tell me? Where's my boy?
This is for all the parents whose children have been evacuated, and for my boy, George.
That clip is from Blitz, the latest film from director Steve McQueen. It stars Saoirse Ronan as a single mother in London during World War II. In the opening moments, we get a title card explaining how many people in London were evacuated during the German bombings of the city. 1.25 million people left London. Half of that number were just children. Ronan plays Rita, who must put her son George on a train and trust the state that he will be safe. George, who does not want to leave his mom's side, decides to jump off the train just outside London and now struggles to get back home. This is a rather straightforward story, no major twists or the like. It is very polished. I mean, the cinematography is beautiful. The sound design is great, and the acting from Saoirse Ronan and Elliot Heffernan, who plays her son, is top-notch. All that said, I failed to connect with this emotionally. There is a scene near the end where a secondary character dies, and I didn't feel much during this moment at all. Blitz came off as kind of cold. This is getting a limited release in theaters and will then move to Apple TV near the end of November. This is Apple TV's big award darling, but I do not see it getting much recognition. This is a well-told story, but failed to connect with me.
Sometimes that happens, right? You get these directors who are really hitting their stride, and they get top-notch actors, and they just tell them a story very, very well, but it's kind of bland. It's just kind of like, it's hitting all the notes, but the song isn't that good.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times, like, again, we talked about it coming out of A Real Pain. Again, there's a publicist there, and they want to get my thoughts right away. And I said instantly, I was like, I just didn't connect with this, emotionally. And I said, I'm walking out of it. I can't tell you why right away, because this has been seconds since the movie ended.
But you know
But
when you know.
when you know. But sometimes it's just tough to even realize why it is. But there's something missing to draw me in. I mean, when a character, as I mentioned, dies near the end, and you can tell that the way that the camera, waits on this moment, they're supposed to feel something, and to just be watching this movie and not feeling it, I was like, damn it, it's just missing that moment, that connection.
Wow, even with Ronan, who's like at the top of her game.
Yeah, and she is really good here. But
I mean, she came in at the top of her game. She's amazing.
She is. Yeah. She's good in everything. And the kid. Here's one other. I didn't even touch on this in my written part of the review. So Saoirse Ronan's son. This is a mixed race family.
Okay.
And the boy's father went off to war, and we presume that he is dead. He is not there. And there's this idea. There's a couple of times where people say derogatory or racist things towards the boy, and that then isn't explored enough. Like there's themes that come up and issues that arise in the film that I felt it could have explored more.
Right.
And it just left it kind of like hanging there. Like, okay, that's one element of it. This had to be difficult for these reasons. Let's explore this more. And it didn't quite necessarily go there. The bombings, which I've heard about and read about.
Blitzkrieg.
Blitzkrieg. And I know about going into the subway systems for protection. All these Londoners
The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe
would go down there. Right.
Those kids were sent away from the Blitz.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I'm aware of this. So I guess maybe I wasn't learning anything new.
Okay.
So that there
the
was
historical part was missing.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I know all this. I know this is what was happening. So then I was hoping that even if you know the story, they can hook me emotionally and I'll be invested in this story. And then it just failed to do that. It was like a good movie that just didn't connect, if that makes sense.
Like Titanic. It's exactly.
Exact opposite.
That's what you made me think of, though.
No, exact opposite. But the subway system got me thinking, like, imagine if you had to go sleep
They call it the underground.
Okay, in the underground in London. We call it the subway in New York and here in Chicago. If you had to go down in like the red line or the blue line, which run under the city here in Chicago, and sleep, oh my God. I mean, they show pictures of people sleeping like on the actual tracks.
Right, to escape from the bombs.
Right, to escape from the bombs. And I was thinking to myself, I don't know.
You roll over and you're zapped.
Ours are so dirty and disgusting in Chicago. I think I would rather just take my chances up by the bombs.
Well, I wouldn't sleep on the tracks. That's for damn sure.
No, it's disgusting.
I'd go down in the station if I had to survive.
The station, 100%. But there's literally shots of people on the tracks because there was just no room. And I thought, man, imagine laying down on the tracks in Chicago. This is what was going in my mind. I was like, I'd probably just
filthy.
go.
Crawling with rats.
I'd probably go up the stairs and say, oh, maybe a bomb hits me, maybe it doesn't, but I'm not laying on those tracks.
Boy, for once I'm going to agree with you.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do that either.
Jaw-dropping moment in Blitz.
Do tell.
There is a couple. One is actually shocking, and one takes place where there is a death in a rail yard with like a moving train that completely caught me off guard. So as far as jaw-dropping, this was like jump out of my seat, shocked, and this isn't like a main character, but it was like, holy crap, where did this come from kind of moment. That jolted me. But the jaw-dropping, going back to the people in the subway stations, the jaw-dropping moment is one of these stations, because of the bombing, starts to flood from some water that comes through into the tunnel. And how harrowing that is.
I don't know if they had the channel at that point. I don't think they did.
I don't think they did. But, I mean, still, there's water,
Sure.
And the subways are X amount of feet down.
Right, pipes and whatnot.
Bam, goes open. Water comes flooding into the tunnel. And now you got all these people down there, way too many people in the station already. And now you add the fact that there's
they're going to drown.
Yeah, flooding. Oh, my God. Terrible.
Oof.
Yeah.
Harrowing.
Yes. For a movie poster quote, I just went, Blitz is not a bomb, but it's not great either. Two Jaws, right in the middle of the road.
Wow.
right in the middle of the
What
road.
a misstep from McQueen and Ronan.
And that's what bothers me. I was like, there's a few like going into it as we're going into this part of the season that I'm super excited for. This was one of them. And so like when I'm really pumped to see a movie and then it just doesn't hit emotionally like I wanted it to, I really walked out kind of disappointed.
After Coda, we all kind of said, oh, maybe Apple is a prognosticator of really great taste.
Yes.
And turns out maybe not.
And
they just got lucky.
Well, last year they did 2, Killers of the Flower Moon and Napoleon.
Yeah, I think Killers of the Flower Moon was really overhyped.
Yeah.
It was okay.
It has its fans. I was not a major one of them either. Didn't make my top 10. I liked it, but it wasn't a top 10er for me.
Great story. I'm glad he's shown light on it and yada yada, but it's got a lot of problems. And the length, that is not a small one of those problems.
Agreed. So Blitz, like I said, getting a limited release, but Jawheads, I would wait. In about 3 weeks, it'll be on Apple TV Plus. If you have that service, you can stream it then. Let us know what you think when you do see it. Feedback at CinemaJaw.com.
Let's all go to the lobby.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, when you talk about The Rock, Dwayne Johnson and his acting career, he's had some decent roles. Some that got him noticed, like, hey, this guy can actually act really well, like outside of an action role. I'm not trying to tell you that this is necessarily one of them, but this is an earlier role from him where we were like taken aback a bit. This is a courtroom scene from the film Walking Tall. Enjoy.
I don't deny anything that was said here today.
Does that mean you're changing your plea to guilty?
I'm not guilty of anything, except standing up for myself when the law wouldn't.
Objection. He's trying to introduce prior events, Your Honor.
Sustained. Mr. Vaughn, stay on point.
I grew up in this town. People used to walk tall in this town. They wouldn't have traded the mill for a crooked casino.
Mr. Vaughn, we're not here to listen to civic speech.
And they wouldn't have stood around while drugs were being sold to kids.
Objection.
Sustained. Mr. Vaughn, you're close to being held in contempt.
I was justified in what I did. And if you acquit me of these charges, then I'm gonna run for sheriff.
Mr. Vaughn.
And if elected, I'm gonna fix this town.
Order. Order. Please take your seat. Mr. Vaughn, you are now charged with contempt.
And I will make sure that this never happens to anyone else again without punishing those who did it.
I'm ordering the jury to ignore what they've just seen. Mr. Vaughn, take your seat. Order! Order! Well, you're all charged with contempt. Sparkling drinks, it awful dandy, 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 dandy.
All right, Rye, before we get to our review of Memoir of a Snail, I do believe we threw some classical items into the fish tank. Why don't we open it up and see what KP has unearthed?
Wait a moment! It's fish! Isn't it?
DC! Wake up! Wake up! No, Pat, it's a giant glass bowl. Hey, get some fish folk.
Who's coming with me besides Flipper? Here.
That's a Sicilian message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hello, thank you. It is great to be unearthed and welcomed out of my tank. There's like I like both of our questions. We only have 2 this week. Our first one is, what is that piano music in A Real Pain that keeps coming on? I'm going to pull back the curtain here a little bit for Jawheads. When I was trying to research this while the show was going on, I had no way of knowing. The soundtrack is not listed anywhere. I couldn't find anything. So what my ask of Matt and Ryan during the break was just to sing a little bit.
How'd I do?
Not great, but
you got the vibe, you got the tempo.
Yeah, what we ended up doing is this is like a little bit, I'm not trying to, this sounds so pretentious of me, and I guess I don't even care. I do like a lot of classical music. So what ended up happening is I was just like, oh, is it Claire de Lune? What, like, is it Moonlight Sonata? And playing them off of my phone, and we landed on what it was. Which, given the context, I am incredibly proud of myself and this team for being able to have pieced it together without any information. We did something
impressive.
Right.
It was impressive.
We're celebrating ourselves too much. Let's hope we're correct.
Oh, yeah,
it is. That's the song. That's the song.
Okay.
We're banking on Matt here. And it would be Opus 2, Nocturne 9 by Frédéric Chopin.
There you go, Chopin.
You do suck.
Wait, who does? Chopin?
No, of
Chopin
course
does
not.
not suck.
Of course not.
Rock never struck me as a classic kind of guy, though.
Yeah, that's a good question. I wonder what The Rock listens to.
Probably Disney soundtracks that are all him.
All day, every day.
All
Yeah.
him.
It's just the Moana soundtrack, nonstop loop.
Except for the ones that don't include it, it's really just you're welcome.
I saw there's a new single out from Moana too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, got an email.
Huh, they threw one out. I'll got to listen to it.
The second one is Igby Goes Down streaming anywhere. This is great news. Lots of places. If you have a Fubo or MGM Plus subscription, that's included in there. So you've got it right there for you. And then it is also available for free with ads on Tubi and Pluto. Those two mainstays always kind of hold it up. Everybody already knows.
Here it comes.
Oh, here it comes. And I got an audible on this one.
I do too. I already got it pulled up.
All right, cool.
All right.
We know what's going to happen. I'm going to get excited. I'm just going to do it. It's on Hoopla.
Yes.
It's on Hoopla.
KP, did you know you got some fan mail?
Well,
Did we?
Yes, I flagged.
You did.
Yes, I flagged a few. This one is one of them that I was planning to read in our feedback segment as well. We might as well start with that one. You want to go ahead and read it?
Sure.
Because it came from Dion in Michigan.
I'll do the honors. Sure. Dion wrote, "Attention KP." Hi KP, this is Dion from East Lansing. I know you are a big fan of Hoopla, as am I.
Love it, Dion.
But you should also be mentioning Canopy. Yep.
Canopy. Well, that's the thing. Chicago.
Wait,
well,
let's finish the whole thing. Let's finish the whole thing.
All right. So he goes on to say, another free service available through libraries. I would bet most libraries that offer Hoopla probably also offer Canopy too. In fact, the East Lansing Library offered Canopy first. Because they exclusively handle videos, they offer a much larger selection of movies than Hoopla does. I'm particularly happy about their international film selection, which they constantly update. I'm currently in the middle of watching an excellent 2023 Iranian film called World War III, which is at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Little tidbit there from Dion. He finishes by saying the only downside is that one is limited to around 9 films a month, whereas I don't believe Hoopla has any limits. That's all I've got. Have a great day. Can you believe this weather? It's kind of perfect. Dion from East Lansing.
So love to hear Dion. You do have 5 borrows a month through Hoopla. That is a caveat. But
no, I believe it's 8.
Maybe it's different.
I think it's
let's say it's a limited.
Yes, it is a limited.
I do the audiobooks on Hoopla too.
But
so
I will say, because I read that email come in, and I wish we were in the area that also offered Canopy. But Dion, and I'm sure there's other areas out there that are like Chicago, we only have Hoopla. And it has bothered the hell out of me. I actually search every, I don't want to say all the time.
Have you ever heard of a VPN?
It's through your library. It's where you get your library card.
Yeah.
So you can't VPN it.
No, it's your public library.
You could like go to another city and get a library card.
Yeah, but I need to have mail. Have you ever gotten a library card?
Yes, I do have my library card.
But it does stink because Canopy does have a larger selection. But I will say Hoopla is really cranking it on big time. They've adding movies a constant. I used it, I'm not joking, 7 movies maybe to 8 movies last month.
Hoopla kicks ass. I'm pretty sure Ryan and I use the same library, the Wicker Park Bucktown. We use the same library, and it is heartbreaking, truly.
Yeah. But yes, do check Jawheads. It's a good service announcement by Dion. If we don't say it because we don't have Canopy here, but
and that's Canopy with a K. Everybody.
With a K,
yes,
correct.
That is a good point.
Yeah, more feedback that we got.
Oh, wow. Do tell. I must have missed one.
Yeah. Oh, a couple here. I flagged a few. Hold on here. El Guapo 3385.
Oh, I love me some El Guapo. Yeah.
He wrote in CinemaJaw, love the picks for top atmospheric horror films. I almost forgot how great the Suspiria films are.
Yeah.
Really, most Argento films rock. My pick is Bram Stoker's Dracula. Cinematography, the lighting, the makeup, all sublime. I barely slept for days first time seeing it.
That's a great pick. I mean, outside of Silence of the Lambs, probably Anthony Hopkins, or my favorite Anthony Hopkins.
Really?
I would say so.
I'd have to really give that some thought. I think that's overshooting, but
he's Van Helsing, man.
I do love Bram Stoker's Dracula. I just rewatched it and I was like, wow, this is
Francis
fantastic.
Ford Coppola.
It's out there too, and out there in a way that nowadays they use way too much CGI. This was way more in camera, like he says, the lighting and so on and so forth. The cinematography is fantastic.
Agree.
Last but not least, I wanted to highlight Tracy from Carolina wanted to comment on the best performance of the year so far, talking about Saoirse Ronan in Blitz. She thinks that she is the absolute best in The Outrun, which we reviewed here on CinemaJaw. Wants to know, does she have a shot at winning the Oscar? I know you haven't seen the movie yet. I don't know if she's going to win. A nomination possibility, but I don't know if she's going to win. But I think she's at least in the conversation here at the end of the year. So we'll see where that goes.
Is she going to be like the next Meryl Streep, where she's always like, if she has a movie in a year, she's going to be part of the conversation?
Maybe.
She's that good.
Ryan, weren't you saying last week that the Nora, who is this?
Oh,
Isn't
yes.
that your lock right now?
Mikey Madison.
Mikey Madison is your lock?
She's definitely going to get nominated, and I think she's the front runner right now, for sure. I'm going to go see a Nora tomorrow for my second time.
At the Music Box?
No.
Okay.
But AMC. I was going to invite you after we get off the show. I know you probably won't go, but in case you wanted to.
Yeah, I do want to.
I don't want to call it a shame that we're celebrating The Rock, because it is truly a victory, but we did miss an opportunity to do Interested or a Nora, and I can't forgive us for that.
That's not bad.
I hold you personally responsible, KP.
Next week on the show, I think we are going to review Amelia Perez. I have already seen this one. It got a very small release in theaters, but its main drop on Netflix is on Wednesday next week. I think that's going to be our main review next week.
Oh, okay.
Sound good?
Yeah.
It has Selena Gomez in it, and you would be shocked. And a nice supporting role. She's really a much better actress than I was giving her credit for. She's in that Murders in the Building.
Yeah, with Martin Short and Steve Martin, and for God's sake.
She's great in Amelia Perez. I've already seen it. So
she's been standing up with those two titans for 3 or 4 seasons now.
Absolutely. Good stuff. All right, I think we can now close the fish tank. Jump back in there.
Will do.
Memoirs of a Snail. Hold on to your shell, Rye, because today we're moving at a sluggish pace. You might even say stop and go. Memoirs of a Snail, the latest stop-motion journey from Adam Elliot, a director who's no stranger to the slow and steady. But is this tale of a lonely woman and her snails a trailblazer, or does it leave us feeling slimy? Is it a shell-shocked experience worth every second, or a bit too sticky to enjoy? Ryan and I I had to fit in 2 puns. Ryan and I avoided the salt in the popcorn to find out.
Dad used to say that childhood was like being drunk. Everyone remembers what you did, except you.
Good one, Dad.
My twin brother, Gilbert. We had 2 souls, but 1 heart.
Look, Gracie.
Memoir of a Snail is one of those films that manages to be both deeply touching and laughably absurd, just like you, Ryan. Directed by Adam Elliot, the genius behind Academy Award-winning short Harvey Crumpet, among many others, this film delves into the tiny, snail-paced world of Grace Pudel, a woman who finds companionship in the oddest of places. Her collection of snails and guinea pigs, a stack of romance novels, and an elderly misfit named Pinky. It's classic Elliot, a stop-motion tragicomedy that's hilarious, nostalgic, and achingly somber. The visual style is pure artistry. Elliot's meticulous dedication is clear from the get-go, and I do mean the opening titles. Each frame is practically buzzing with tiny details. There's something magical about stop motion, and Elliot uses it to immerse us in a world that feels all too real despite its fantastical setup. And then, of course, there's the deadpan humor woven throughout. Gracie's life might be one of a long stretch of melancholy, but the movie balances it with moments that are bizarrely relatable and downright funny. The voice acting here adds an extra layer. I'm not terribly familiar with all these voice actors, but there's a couple of familiar names here. This not being one of them. Sarah Snook, who plays Gracie, brings a quiet resilience to the character. Cody Smith McPhee, Eric Bana, that's the name I'm definitely familiar with, and Jackie Weaver. They round out a stellar cast. The voices are great. All of the characters feel like they're straight out of a bittersweet memory. It's a quirky mix of sadness and charm that makes you root for every tiny victory. And even though it's kind of sad in Gracie's world, the character looks for silver linings in everything, and her optimism and her friend Pinky's rebelliousness keep this far from tearjerker territory. This, my friends, is an emo film. There.
It is an emo film.
I said it.
It is.
A feel-good film? No. If anything, this is a feel-sad film, as Australian critics have dubbed it, but in a good way. It's one of those movies that'll have you laughing at the bleakness of it all and then leave you staring off into space afterward, thinking about loneliness, resilience, and all the weird little things that make life worthwhile, Ryan. Like I said, emo. The message here, clearly breaking out of one's cage, but there's way more to it than that. I won't spoil it, but there's a richness to the themes that makes this rewatchable for more than just the stop-motion details. For those who appreciate a heartfelt story, Memoir of a Snail is worth the time. Just be ready to embrace the bittersweet. Break out of your little shell and give this indie gem a spin.
Yes, definitely give it a spin. It's refreshingly odd and deep animated movie, and that is very difficult sometimes to pull off. I mean, we're laughing at the absurdity of it, and yet we're completely moved by it at the same exact time.
True.
And we're talking about something stop motion that is incredible, that it can feel that alive and feel that connected to it. So hats off to everybody involved in the film. Very dark humor at times. And I wouldn't say like dark, maybe not in the sense of
violence or death, yeah.
But like dark or like almost, I don't want to say crude, but like
there's some crudeness to it.
I guess like a dark, crude humor throughout the movie that I appreciated like crazy. Like you just didn't see it coming. So it's also shocking. Some of the line deliveries, and
they don't pull punches on the more human things about us,
right?
Like like sex and going to the bathroom and getting fat and things like that.
I know the getting fat part was a hilarious, odd point in the movie where she is married to this guy who is trying to plump her up.
No spoilers.
I know, but we can at least say that he's just trying to plump her up. I mean, I'm not going to say where this goes, but what I mean, it caught me off such guard because the movie is bizarre, but that theme is very odd. Like that the husband is actually trying to get her, you know, a bit more pounds.
Sure,
it's just an odd
more
story,
to love.
You know, more to love, right? So there was those kinds of moments that were I could really appreciate and thought it was just absolutely hysterical. But at the end, I cried. There were multiple times where I could feel at least emotional, and then there was at least one point where I definitely welled up with tears. So it did hit me in all the feels.
It did?
Yeah, it really got me. But in general, I laughed more than I was going to say I cried, but I did well up with tears at one point.
There is one moment, and I will not spoil it, that this movie wallops you emotionally. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I believe. I mean, there's a couple of key moments.
There's one in particular where you're just like, oh, it's so bleak and disheartening. Like, I'll just say that the two characters part ways.
Right.
And I was just like, boy, does that suck. And I didn't know if the movie would be able to lift me back up after that. I did not feel the tears welling up. It wasn't that kind of movie for me. It was more about the atmospheric emotion of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I enjoyed it nonetheless.
So you mentioned, and I'm glad that you brought it up, is the detail into the animation. I mean,
every frame.
I am just in such awe of the people that can take the time to make a movie so detailed like this with the stop motion.
Right.
It's literally incredible. To me, it's just like,
when is Wes Anderson going to give us a stop motion? Oh, no, he's already done. Yeah,
of course.
So that's what the thing. Like, it really this format I think lends itself to obsessive compulsiveness, you know, in a good way, like people who really think out every little thing, every little object that's in a shot and why. Why is that there?
Yeah. Well, there's no doubt if you're going to actually hand make something and then have to stop motion it, you got to have a purpose for it to be in the shot. So it has extra meaning, not just in the sense of being a director and you want that to be in the actual
Right. Why is
frame.
that flower there? There's a reason.
Yes. But you also now are actually having to create all of that stuff within the camera. And so then I think, yes, they're such nuts about the details because they have to be. I mean, that's the whole thing, you know?
Yeah. Just the meticulous attention to detail. It's mind-boggling.
It is. It really is. But it really, I mean, what a great story for, I think, family in general. You know, you mentioned Marcel the Shell with shoes on.
Yeah. Much different movie.
Much different movie, but there are some themes that cross over in the sense of like family, you know, being united that way. I enjoy, I
vulnerability. Yeah. There's some crossover there. It would have been a decent pairing.
You went somewhere else.
I did go somewhere else.
We'll get there.
Yeah,
we
will. We will.
Yeah. So Gilbert, which is the boy, very emo. His haircut and everything.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, oh, my God.
So if you had told me Tim Burton made this movie...
Oh, 100%. I would have bought it.
Yeah.
Hook, line, and sinker.
Same.
Hands down. What about a jaw-dropping moment?
Pinky's past. So Gracie has this friend, Pinky, who she meets after her teen years.
Yes. Let me just say, my jaw-dropping moment I first wrote was Pinky. In general, the character Pinky is absolutely fantastic, and she is voiced by Jackie Weaver.
We get a little montage, right, where Gracie is explaining to us Pinky and all of her adventures. But the thing is, in these flashback moments, they don't bother making a new character for Pinky as a younger person. It's just Pinky is the old lady that she's met, doing these crazy things like being an exotic dancer.
That was great.
These are just little touches. It's just so quirky and funny and charming.
Right. Maybe a new category. You know, we always recap the end of the year. We do our favorite acting, our favorite moments. Maybe we do a whole episode of our favorite characters of the year.
Okay, I mean,
like I'm
that.
just spitballing here, but the reason why I say that is Pinky would be probably on my top 5. What a great character, because you have so much fun with her, and she's so real, right?
She's an anarchist.
And she's just, I mean, at the very end of the day, she's everything. She's everything to Gracie near the end of this movie.
Best friend, mother figure,
yes,
grandmother.
Incredible. And so my jaw-dropping moment is a letter that Pinky leaves for Gracie at one point, and she reads this letter, and it's just so touching and heartfelt. This is my moment where I really welled up with some heavy emotion. I thought, well, it's beautiful, but at the same point, they still throw in like a couple of humorous lines in there as well.
For sure, yeah.
So it's perfectly balanced everything. I loved Memoir of a Snail. It's awesome.
It's an emo movie.
My movie poster quote is, "Family, like a snail's shell, will protect you."
Oh, that's good, Ryan. Mine is Memoirs of a Snail will inch its way into your heart.
3.5 Jaws for Rye the Movie Guy. Where you at, Matt K?
Dude, I went there. 4 Jaws.
Wow.
Why not?
4 Jaws.
So I was trying to figure out, like, was there any, like, nitpicks, anything I didn't like? No. This movie really fires on all cylinders. This is a 4-Jaw movie. I love the story. I love the look. I love the characters. 4 Jaws.
So this is playing at the Music Box here in Chicago. The reason why I mentioned that is I wonder, where does this fit in? Like, being a family man, would you show this to your kids?
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Because I'm wondering myself.
Right.
I mean,
so
I know it's for adults because it was for me.
Right.
But what about for family?
Well, so I didn't know much about this going in, right? And I was like, oh, it's an animated movie. I'm going to just like, hey, you guys want to watch this movie and watch it with the whole family. I don't think it's for young kids. Only because I don't think there's anything wildly inappropriate. There's no like violence or anything scary, even though this was a Shudder produced movie. I just think that the emotional beats and the complexity there and some of the sad moments are a little too heavy for young kids. Mm-hmm. So I would say this is teen and above. If I had to give it a rating, is it even rated?
I'm sure it is.
Okay, I would say PG-13. It's definitely not an R-rated movie. Yeah, PG-13.
Yeah, we do have the theme of the brother going to a family that is very religious and pushing on. And I agree, like, it would be
tough.
That's
not even the part that would bother my kids.
Right. But I'm just saying that would be difficult to explain what exactly is going on to the kid.
Yeah,
they might have a little bit more questions.
Zealots and zealotry.
So on and so forth. Right. So it is a little bit more adult-oriented, but...
For sure. Yeah, these are complex themes. Definitely not a children's movie.
Right.
I don't think they would like it. I think it would just be boring. And her favorite color is beige. The movie is quite drab, and it's not a very colorful movie per se. There's a lot to look at, but it's not a kid's cartoon.
Gracie is a hoarder.
Yeah.
She hoards everything. Do you know a hoarder that has as much knick-knack crap shit that Gracie has in the movie?
No.
You're looking at one. I love shit. Are you kidding me?
I mean, I probably come the closest. I do have quite a few collections, but nothing like Gracie, obviously.
Yes. She really loved the snails.
She did. Right. She took comfort in the snails.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a defense mechanism. It's a good movie.
It really is.
There's a lot to chew on.
I want to see it a second time.
Same.
Yeah. Interesting. I mentioned when I was doing my recap of the Chicago International, which is where I saw it, that I had saw it with, what's his name?
Well, what's his name, right?
What's his name?
I mean, I can only guess you're talking about Pat McDonald.
Exactly, Pat McDonald. And he's great to have in these movies because now you realize what kind of humor it is. And to have that guy laughing.
He was probably laughing his ass off.
Oh, it was hysterical.
Yeah.
That makes the movie sometimes, hearing that guy laugh inside the theater. So
you're a real big fan there.
It's hilarious.
You got a bromance going on with Pat McDonald.
It's hilarious. Every time that guy laughs, I laugh. It's good shit. All right. 3.5 Jaws for Rye the Movie Guy, 4 Jaws for Matt K. Now, we also paired something with this movie.
Yeah.
Where did you go with this? And how'd you bounce a recommendation off of Memoir of a Snail?
I'm bouncing this recommendation to stay in the same art form. A film by Travis Knight came out in 2016, Kubo and the Two Strings. Largely well received in its day, but I think it kind of faded away into obscurity. It's not like the classic like Coraline or even like... obviously Nightmare Before Christmas, but even like Corpse Bride, staying within that genre, we talk about those movies a lot. Kubo kind of gets looked over, and I think it's this amazing D&D adventure movie with like magic items, and I can't remember what you were saying, KP. It's like a JRPG or something. What did you call it?
It's like Zelda.
It's like Zelda, which was your comment back in the day, which you took umbrage with, didn't you?
Well, it's a long story.
Okay.
I'm lukewarm on Kubo. I think
Fair
it's
enough.
great, but I don't love it.
I love it. I love the haunting tone of it. I love the adventure feel of it. I love the characters. Matthew McConaughey's character in particular is a lot of fun. I think Kubo deserves another watch.
Yeah, I like it a lot too. And I feel like you're watching a Zelda game play out. And it even has like boss levels in my mind because every time they have to get the item, like they have to get the sword, for instance, is on, all the swords are inside a skeleton's head.
Right.
If you'll recall. And so they got to climb up on top of that skeleton's head and try to find the actual right sword, the magical sword or whatever it is.
It's very informed by video games.
Yes. And so that very much felt like if you were going to get to the boss of something, how do you defeat this enemy? And you finally find the sword that defeats the skeleton. Then you got to get the armor, the dad's armor from, this so on and so forth.
It's quest. It's a fetch quest.
There's an underwater sequence that was excellent.
Levels.
Love it. So there's all of those moments as well. The voice works great. Cameron Diaz is, I believe, the monkey in that movie.
Charlize Theron.
That's who it is. Charlize Theron. Who did I say?
You said Cameron Diaz.
Yes, Charlize Theron. That's who I meant. Totally. Yes.
Yep.
Good stuff. I like it. I was going to ask, though, KP, Matt said that this is in the same vein animation-wise, but it's different because how would you explain it? How would you explain it?
So... You guys want to know some deep lore? I was super interested when the making of and like the production before Kubo was out. And so what Leica had done, actually, they had animated all of this.
Leica is the animation studio.
Yes, Leica, specific Coraline, Paranorman, Box Trolls, and Kubo. For this film in particular, they started 3D animating in Maya and Blender. So it was essentially they had drafted out a very rough Pixar film and then 3D printed a lot of the assets. The big one, right? That same skeleton you were talking about, they had actually had a jaw that the top piece was the same, but they had 3D printed, like, who knows, like thousands of these jaw pieces that they could just take off and put the next one on. And that's how it was made. And to me,
Get the hell out of here. Really?
Truly.
That's how they made the what do you call that? The visemes? Like we
The
were
mouth?
talking. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think there's like definitely a little bit of that would separate it. I also think Adam Elliot, am I the only one here who's seen Mary and Max?
Yeah.
I have not seen it.
So I just became familiar with Elliot.
It's so good.
Right. He won the Oscar for a short film, the one I mentioned in my review. And now I just want to watch everything from him.
Right around the time that the Mark Maron TV show was on IFC. And I mean, bear in mind, like, this is going to put me back in a place in time, but also The Whitest Kids You Know was on IFC, back when IFC existed at all, really, because cable existed at all. That film had come out on there. And I do think, like, the darkness is maybe a part of it. And because the way that Adam Elliot makes a face just looks kind of gross, and I don't fully
I read
know
something
how to
about
explain
this.
it.
Well, so he has a palsy, not a palsy, some sort of like tremor that's brought on by anxiety, and he uses that in his art on purpose. So that's why his characters have these like wiggly lines. He puts that on full display.
Oh, I just meant like their eyes look tired. They look
right, which is a product
again,
of his
like,
style.
Yeah, and it's very gritty's not the right word. I guess we're just talking about how human these things are, and that whereas Leica gets a little bit more fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I wanted to stay in the same art form. I'm not saying that these two pieces of work are super compatible in anything other than that they're both stop motion films, which is an underappreciated art form.
Absolutely.
It's also an underproduced art form. I mean, really,
It's
we
a
get
pain.
one every 5. Right. It's like so hard
It's a
to make.
labor of love.
Right.
Harryhausen's dead, so like.
Yeah, he was the other great master.
So, bringing us back, I did not go with an animated film for my recommendation.
Oh, yes.
I did not at all. I went thematically here because we had twins inside Memoir of a Snail. And I thought back to some damaged
That's why you're going there.
twins in a movie that way back when I saw it, I didn't think that these two actors had any dramatic chops. But in 2014, Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig made The Skelton Twins. And this is way better film than most people that go past the thumbnail on your streaming services are expecting. It opens up. This is a movie that's dealing with some dark subject matter, but it's having fun with it at the same time. And I think by just telling you how the movie opens up, it explains what I mean.
Do tell.
Maggie, who is played by Kristen Wiig, is in her bathroom preparing to swallow a handful of pills to commit suicide, but she's interrupted by a phone call, pissed off that she's interrupted by this phone call where she's about to kill herself. And it comes from a hospital informing her that her twin brother, Milo, whom she hasn't seen in 10 years, has attempted suicide.
Wow.
Very dark.
Dark, but
very
funny.
dark, but very funny. You see where this is.
Yeah.
And so this movie is dealing in that dark subject
So
matter.
you thought
but
it was
having
going to
fun.
be you thought it was going to be Target Lady and Goat Boy? Is that who Hader?
So the two siblings, very messed up from childhood. Ends up that Maggie is married now. She's married to in the movie. It's played by Luke Wilson, and she takes another just an odd detail is she takes birth control pills, but doesn't tell her husband. And so Luke Wilson is trying to get her pregnant all this time. And when Milo, who's Bill Hader, comes to stay with them after trying to commit suicide, Luke Wilson's like, "Yeah, we're trying to have a baby." And then, but he knows that his sister is taking birth control pills. They've talked, and so then on the side, he's like, man, I think I'm sterile. I just can't get her pregnant. It's like, well, she doesn't want to have kids. Why she doesn't want to have kids? She's cheating and so on and so forth. And it really comes together that both these twins grew up in a very difficult situation, and things have happened at a time, and they're still working on this thing called life.
So the story's complicated. That's
exactly.
That's how it ties in. And
yes, and that there's twins, right? Because there were twins in Memoir of a Snail, and they haven't seen each other, and maybe they come back, and in this case, same, 10 years apart, and then they come back. So do check out the Skeleton Twins. It's worth a spin for sure.
Nice. And they balance the humor to the emotion?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. It's actually funnier than I thought. Once I've just described that scene, and you're
amazing.
talking about suicide for both siblings. You think, oh my God, I don't want to watch this. But it's also not a screwball comedy by any means. It was a movie that played at Sundance, indie film. Check it out.
Okay.
All right. Now
trivia?
On to trivia. Jesse Eisenberg trivia. As I mentioned, there's one question you can actually get 3 points on. So you can get a total of 8. You need 3 or more not to be stumped.
Got it.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Question 1. And it's still Dwayne Johnson month. So
you are absolutely right.
We're either doing that, and if you get it wrong,
you do suck.
Absolutely. Now you know. I'm not hitting a buzzer here. Here we go. Question 1. Name Jesse Eisenberg's character in Zombieland.
Okay. He's
this is hard because they're all
cities.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all
and it's
cities.
like, which one is which?
Right. So one of them is Tallahassee, and the other one is I think he's Tallahassee.
You do suck.
Oh, Matt. That was Woody.
Oh.
We were looking for Columbus.
Columbus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense when you think about it.
0 for 1 for Matt K.
I never would have come up with Columbus, by the way.
Question 2. Name 3 other actors from Now You See Me.
Boy, did I call that.
Is this the one?
But this is not where you can get 3 points. It's not where you can get 3. You just can get 1 point. But I need.
Was it Aubrey Plaza?
I'm not. Wait until. Name 3 other actors from Now You See Me.
Okay.
Just the first one?
Just the first one.
Franco.
Correct.
And dude, I think it's Aubrey Plaza.
It's a big cast.
Morgan Freeman.
That's 2.
Woody Harrelson.
There you go. 3.
You are absolutely right.
You got one. You got one.
Was it Aubrey Plaza in that one? Okay.
Isla Fisher.
Isla Fisher. Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's who we were looking for. All right. Matt is 1
she
for
does
2.
the guillotine trick where she chops her own head off.
Yes.
It's a great scene.
All right. Question 3. Name 3 other actors besides Eisenberg from The Social Network.
Justin Timberlake.
1.
Wow.
You suck.
I know.
You do suck.
I haven't gotten it wrong yet, Rock. Okay, so Timberlake.
There's a huge one.
The who plays the Winklevoss twins?
Recently canceled in Hollywood.
Was he? Oh, Armie Hammer.
That's 2.
How many do I need?
3. Need 1 more.
Who plays his second in command?
Right. Who was his partner? Jesse Eisenberg and who? I think he has the best scene in the movie when he drops the computer on the desk. Boom.
Oh, Andrew Garfield.
There you go.
You are absolutely right.
2 for 3, Matt K.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Question 3. You can get every point for every film you can name.
Okay, up to 8.
No, up to 3. Sorry.
Up to 3?
Yes. Oh. Jesse Eisenberg has made 3 movies with Kristen Stewart. Jesse Eisenberg has made 3 movies with Kristen Stewart. You get a point for every film that you can name. 3 movies, Jesse Eisenberg and Kristen Stewart.
And just so I know how this works, he goes, once he gets one wrong, he's done so, right?
Yeah.
If you get one right,
I don't even know if he'll get one right.
He's going to get at least one right. Right?
I don't think I will. I mean, okay, so she's not in Zombieland.
No, she is not.
She's not in Social Network. She's not in that other one we were just talking about.
She's in none of them that we were talking about earlier.
Now You See Me.
Nope.
Which is one of the few movies he plays a cool guy in. He's never the cool guy.
No.
Maybe he's just not a cool guy.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe he's not.
Kristen Stewart, Jesse Eisenberg in what?
Dude.
3 times.
There's 2 of these that I feel like you should have.
I agree. I think 2 out of the 3 is...
All right, well, steer me. I'm
not steering
I'm
anybody.
already not stumped. Come on, steer me.
You're not...
It's on the
you're
rails.
Still
you
stumped.
can't steer something on the rails. And that was me steering you.
I recognize that. So it's got to be some kind of train movie.
There's other things on rails, you bozo.
Mine Cars? Is this Minecraft? Right. She's in Minecraft?
You have 2 of 3 correct. What do we got here? You got anything?
Nothing.
You do suck.
We would have taken Adventureland. That's where KP was trying to get you.
Okay.
Also, American Ultra, a stoner comedy.
Yeah, I forgot about that one.
And then a Woody Allen movie, Cafe Society.
She wasn't in the pizza one? What was the pizza one with the Z?
That was 30 minutes or less.
Wow.
But she was not in that one.
Oh, I hope that doesn't come up. I forgot we have more questions.
Last question. You actually need this correct not to be stumped.
Well, I thought there was one where I can get 8 points.
That was the one.
That was
only 3 points.
I know, 3 points. Sorry, I overspoke.
Yeah,
overspoke. All right, question 5. You've seen the movie. We reviewed it on the Jaw, so you got a shot here, Matt.
That doesn't mean nothing.
Jesse Eisenberg starred with Jason Segel in a film about the author David Foster Wallace.
Yeah.
Name the movie.
Yeah. This is a great movie. I really enjoyed it. It's
There are no hints.
No, I don't need a hint.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. I just need a little time.
What is it? Interstellar?
It's about a tape. It has something it's not like Be Kind Rewind, but it's like something to do with a tape.
David Foster Wallace wrote Infinite Jest.
Yeah.
One of the great authors of our time.
So they say.
And
More
in
of
the
a
movie,
Vonnegut guy myself.
in the movie, Jesse Eisenberg plays a reporter.
Yeah.
Who goes and
for
interviews
Rolling
them.
Stone, if I'm not mistaken. Sort of in the same tradition as
Almost Famous.
Yeah, I was going to go with Fear and Loathing, personally.
What do you got here, though? I mean, this is to be stumped.
Am I correct that it has something to do with a tape?
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
No.
No.
Yeah, you're thinking of the Jack Black and Mos Def movie.
I said it's not Be Kind Rewind.
Yeah.
Something about the interview. After the interview, am I in the right track?
Getting close.
It's not after the review. It's like
down to 10 seconds.
After
Here we go.
After the interview, like something like that.
You do suck.
Fuck you, Rock.
We're looking.
You do suck.
Fuck you.
Yes. One more time.
You do suck.
Shut up.
We're looking for End of the Tour.
End of the tour.
Yes.
After the interview, end of the tour.
Son of a God. You were getting there.
I was close.
I swear to God, if we had another 6 hours, you might have got it.
Oh, I totally would have got it. Just sit here and think about it for the rest of the night.
Oh my God.
Let
Matt
me
is
tell you,
stumped. Matt is stumped. He got
not
2, and then
easy.
he thought it was going to be
A
easy.
cakewalk.
Yeah.
Well, I
No
kept
sale.
waiting for this question where I had 8 chances.
I knew there were multiples.
No,
I knew there were multiples.
To be fair, I think technically, wouldn't he have walked away with 7? Because the 5 are the 5 and then
Right.
there's 2 extra.
That is correct. Yeah.
But you never had 8.
Yeah.
I know. I misunderstood.
Sorry. Sorry, Matt.
It's okay.
Yeah, you were stumped.
Honest to God, I don't mind losing.
You stink.
It's really for the entertainment of the Jawheads.
I guess.
If they have fun, like listening to their, wanting to throw their phone across the room because of how much of an idiot I am, that makes me happy.
That's every week.
Right. And that's why I do this every week.
Isn't stumped every week, though.
No.
Most weeks.
You
Comes
got like
up
a
here and
good,
there.
I don't know, what, like 20%?
I'm under 500 for sure. I'm definitely less than 50-50.
Brings us to the end of a great Jaw. First and foremost, we're thanking KP, our editor and producer.
I would not be anywhere else. Well, there is one other place I would be, and that is outside the picket line lobbying for the Chicago Public Library to get Canopy. But other than that, you guys are a very close second.
Hey, let's get on that line. Let's get Canopy in Chicago.
I agree. Why the hell not?
We also want to thank
the Patreons. Thank you. The intelligentsia. If you want to support the show, join us on Patreon, because even if you support for just $1, that's fine. You unlock everything at any level of support. We do a lot of bonus episodes, movie roundups, that kind of thing. Join us on Patreon. It sure does help a lot.
And another way you can support the show is by leaving us a review or a star rating or a like on any of the apps that you're listening to us. That helps us a lot. So do that, Jawheads. Until next week, I'm Ryan the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt Kay.
And keep on jawing about the movies.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
Aw, screw you, Rock.